How do I see things? Okay, that's one view. And
So
my
let's
name is
start.
Azultulz. I am in.
Top. Alrighty. So we are
Okay.
officially here, Evolve Fest 2020, and it is time to paint. And I'm excited because we have one of our faves at Evolve. She has been with us. This is year 2 now. Year 2. And Azultulz is a multi-talented artist beyond just painting. She's also a counselor in training, and she will be guiding us on how painting can be healing. Now, I know for sure for me, Blue, I'm not gonna lie. This beginning of this pandemic, my anxiety was so crazy that I literally had to pull out a paintbrush to calm down. Like I was like physically, my body was like, what is happening? We're not working. I don't have a job. Like, what's gonna happen?
Right.
And I pulled out a paintbrush and I was so impatient with myself, which forced me to calm down. So Blue, tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit more about you and what we're gonna be doing today.
Absolutely. So my name is Azultulz. I am a multidisciplinary artist, like Sharmon said. But pretty much that can include things like jewelry. I do crafting. I done painting, and then also painting things like monitors and TVs, and doing murals and whatever else I just feel like. So I play with all the mediums I care to play with. And as for the healing side, I do moon meditation streams. I do counseling in the sense of like I do dream interpretation session services. When I say counseling, it could be like insight on how to use crystals or some product that I sell because I do spiritual tools and I am developing a skincare line. So it's just a lot that I do. All about creativity and hopping all over the place. It's just my thing and it's always been.
Yes. So can you talk to us about this pandemic for you, because you, like you mentioned, you paint murals and you were actually able to paint a mural for a community garden this summer. So what was that experience like for you?
Doing the mural, or would you want the pandemic first?
Well, either one, whichever one you want to start with.
I don't know why, but to me, it was like a much needed vacation. I liked the idea for at least that 2-3 months where I was just like, I felt like a child again. Like I could just do whatever. I could do whatever I want.
Yes.
What do I want? What do I like? What's fun? Like it really made me explore like the what's the word? Recreational side of myself, where it was just like, okay, let's get into it, and it was kind of great. I remember playing video games again. It was just awesome. So I didn't really have a problem. I just absorbed myself in whatever my interests were. So I just kind of kept that going with the meal that we did toward the end of the summer. It was an awesome opportunity where I was like, it's weird because we're also talking about healing and mental health through art and how anxiety, for example, can be helpful towards art. I will admit, being as an artist, having your own stress or self-criticisms about your art as you're creating it, while trying to liberate it as you're doing it. Like once it's completed, you're like, oh my God, it's great. Yeah. But that feeling of while you're doing the art, you're like, I hope this is awesome. And like you have to deal with your self-doubt through your art. Me, I can't.
While you're doing it.
For all art. So it's been really about getting out of my comfort zone in whatever areas this year just to grow, because I know I won't be able to get any growth from not doing anything that's challenging. So it's like, but it's like, oh, I needed this, right? I wouldn't be doing all this leveling up without the pressure. You're trying to make a diamond here. So
definitely
wear it.
So what are we doing today? How are we going to paint?
Okay, so I'm going to show you the painting one more time, but I was saying that if you say didn't want to make an evening, you could very well do like the sunset. So let's say you could still probably do a black or a dark, but it's really about like dark red, orange, yellow. Because with this, it's black, blue, purple, but the purple's the lightest at the bottom. You want to kind of play with an ombre, which I'll show you how to do that, where you kind of blend from one color to the next, so it's nice and you know.
Yes, I'm
And
excited.
then we're gonna play around with fall colors because fall realness is happening. It's here, so let's try to find a way to enjoy it and find the beauty in it as well.
Cool. All right. I think I got my little.
Because I know a lot of times we get so we want to find a way to be like, hey, this is kind of pretty. Maybe we can embrace fall without being like, oh no, you know, and the moon too. So we'll get into it. So got a 11 by 14 flat panel, but again, whatever you feel like doing, whatever size, is very easy to do down on anything. As for brushes, since we're doing a brush, that's kind of why you want some room so you can have more coverage. You want to have a skinny one and be all day with it. So if you can find something that'll give you some room, paint on your, oh yeah, you can't see my canvas. Hold on, we're gonna change it around the screen. Boop, boop, boop. How about that? Hope that's headed for you. So flat brush. And you just want to have enough room to cover a lot. You don't want to be here all day. So we got that. I got some varieties of it, so I might switch it up every now and again. But once I pick one, even if it's smaller, that's okay. And then as for, you would also want a way smaller version of what I just showed you with the flat, like something else that'll give you, because this will be really good for your strokes when you're doing the leaves. So that's okay. An angle brush could work, but even if it's a little smaller, that'll help. But it depends on how much, how big this is. Let me see this one. Hold on. It's hard to see it. Okay. Yes, that would work. Yeah, so even if it's a little longer, that works too.
Got it.
Uh, this one is kind of like a straight one, like a just a straight. Oh, you also want to look up where this one will get gunky so fast, and I want like some fresher water. I do have like a bucket near me so I can like toss out my water. Got a little jug of water. This way, if I don't want to like move around, I have all my resources because I'm not next to a sink. Perfect. That's fine. As for colors, you want black, at least for if you're going to do exactly what I'm doing. Black and white are going to be helpful basics. The sky, it was black, but it also has like purple and blue. So if you have any purples or blues and in your favorite, you don't have to have any particular kind. I'm fine with it. You can always add like black to it or white to it if you want to brighten it or darken it. So we're trying to kind of do a midnight evening colors. So that's why we're thinking of blues and purples and blacks for the background. Okay, I think I got my two here from what I did last time. And then, of course, you also want somewhere to put your paint. You know, I like to reuse, reduce, recycle. So these are just like lids that I found and have that I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna use it as a little palette. So get creative. You always have resources more than you think. It's all about how you perceive them. So,
I like that too, Blue, that you mentioned that because like I found these at the dollar store for like anybody who is watching. And like Blue said, maybe you're not a painter all the time and you just doing this with us today and you just want to find some stuff in the house. Recycle, it's your best friend. If you have old newspaper, maybe you have printer paper. You don't have to have a canvas. It's okay. We're just extra because, you know, we do this. But if you have a piece of paper, you can use that too. So definitely tools at home is always your friend. Recycle, recycle, recycle. All right, get back to it.
If you are using paper though, you may not have to worry about the background if you don't want to. You can just do maybe a black tree. So do like an ink black tree and then do the Q-tip part that we'll be getting into. Speaking of Q-tips, that's another element of painting we'll be using. You shouldn't need too many because with this one that we're doing, we're only gonna pick like 2 to 3 colors and just go with that. So maybe get like at least 3 of them and then have them be like about 4 of them to a bundle. You just need some rubber band and about 4 Q-tips and bundle them up. And I think ask for other colors. Yeah, since we're doing leaves, we're gonna have like orange, yellow, red, any of those colors are gonna be helpful when we're doing the fall colors. And if we want to do aurora borealis, like that cool, like colorful clouds at night thing, you can get like any kind of favorite light color you want. It could be your greens or your pinks or a violet purple or anything like that. Light orange. You really can't go wrong. But try to go with something that won't be already used in the already colors. Like if you have orange here, you might not want an orange cloud, but do you. I love it. I love it. Fill your oats. So I want to get started. So we're going to use that big flat brush that we showed first. We're going to dip it in some water. And I do like to have paper towels. That's one thing I forgot to mention. That's something you can use to kind of dab off your brush, or if you have too much color but you don't want to fully change colors, it just kind of gets some of the excess off. So let me put some black on my panel here. You know, and I need more than that, I'm sure, but we can always refill. I'm kind of conservative with my paint. It's really interesting when I paint. It's like I'd rather do little by little and build instead of like I'm gonna put a whole bunch, like it's gonna make a difference. I learned after a while with painting that it's about the layers. That's where the patience comes from. So once you get some black on your paintbrush, you're going to start at the top. So we're just going to do some left and right strokes. Take your time with it, you know. We're going to be building this, so you might do this maybe once or twice. It depends on how thick of the paint you put on it, but I'm just going to fill that up. What I like about painting also is like the actual action of it. It's very like, oh wow, you can get kind of lost in it once you get into the zone of just doing the strokes and hearing the brush and, you know, all the ASMR effects of it all. And then I don't know if y'all can hear my background noise. I'm just kind of using a campfire. I love using ambient sounds a lot. And I like listening to uh, chakra meditation. So this one is like a heart and third eye chakra. I felt it appropriate. You need your third eye up here to get creative, you know, get your imagination going on. As for your heart, you just want to be opened enough to be able to express yourself. Give yourself permission to feel and do and what you feel you like. All right, so I would think we're going to go with this until about mid halfway. We can always use the other one as an example. Yeah, we're gonna go like about here. We're gonna go some more layers, some more rows, if you will. We'll just keep at it. It's okay if it's light because you're gonna do a few more layers if you want it to be really dark. Because once we get to that midpoint of black that we want, we're gonna put some blue on our palette and get that kind of blending to the next color as well. Wow, this is a water black. Okay, so once you're starting to feel like you're at that top midpoint, you want to get your blue that you want for your midnight sky. You would kind of get that ready. Try to make sure I'm using the right blue. It looks different than I remember, but I believe I mixed my blue with some black because my blue is really bright to me. And I was like, nope, tone it down. So you can totally mix colors to help achieve the exact color you want. So do not be afraid to mix and see how it goes and have fun with it. So now you should be slowly bringing in your blue because your black should be still a little wet, so it will start blending with it. But that's the cool part about if you decide to use a little bit of black in your color, like your blue, because it'll also blend better. It won't be so like a shock, like, oh, we're doing a whole other color now instead of it now blending together. So I actually encourage you to put a little bit of black in your blue if it's a bright type. Kind of, let's see what color blue this is. It's called Caribbean blue. So, oh yeah, we're talking bright water there, kind of color. But as you continue on with your blue, you can start playing with just it by itself. You don't have to keep mixing it with black if you don't want to, because once you get to about the same, I would say past mid, but like the very like here-ish, we'll start the purple play. You'll see as we go. Awesome, awesome. All right.
Now, for those of us who normally don't like paint, can you talk about blending with us? Because like right now you're mixing kind of like the blue into the black.
Right. So let's say you have a bright blue like I do. Because if you have like a navy blue, that still would behoove you. So here's how it goes. So once you have your black, right when you get toward the point where you want to mix your color, you want to do it kind of right soon so it can kind of be, because the prior paint will be still kind of wet. So you want them to blend into the other. So yeah, you can do that. And then also, yeah, because you're at the midpoint. So you can also bring the blue way more down and then it'll kind of make sense from there. But if it's not blending with the black and the blue right there, you can just mix some of your blue with the black. Make a whole new kind of shade, if you will. And then gradually get just straight blue as you go down. So if anything, when it comes to blending, I would say you want to mix the dark color with the next following and blend and kind of have it be its dominant color. And then once we get into this purple, I'll show you that you're going to mix a little bit of the blue with the purple and then mix it down until it's just purple. And if, as for the bottom, so I might mix a little white with the purple to brighten it up because that's going to get covered anyway. But I want to go a little further down with the blue here. Okay. Just a little bit more. But yeah, do not worry if you feel like your paint has dried. As long as you're mixing that color with each other, the one prior with the one new you're introducing, it should be fine. You're going to start looking more cohesive. So that's how you blend. You want them to kind of be complementary of each other too, if you can. But I like to mix it. That's really what it is. And I'm probably going to have to do another layer because that's when patience comes in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's kind of
pretty and bold. Yeah, if anything, that first layer is just kind of giving you less white on your paper or on your canvas because you may not believe it, but it can be quite difficult to cover up white. I know with certain projects I've done, I would have to, I'd like to paint my background yellow first just to get rid of all that like stark white of the canvas. And kind of get whatever next color or actual tones you want to kind of be starting and established, because straight from white can be like, really? Unless you're playing with white space, and that's cool too, then it benefits you. So since I'm about to get into my purple for me, again, I'm going to mix let me get to the camera real good, the blue with the purple. And you kind of make a whole new shade with those two together, if you will. Hope you can see that, because, oh boy. It's all good. But overall, you should be putting them together first, making a whole new kind of tone from the two. And then lay it down. Very pretty. All right. Yeah, okay. Cool. All right. So just keep using your mixed color at the line between when they meet. You just want the mixed colors to be there, so it looks more blended. Cool thing I've learned about painting is that, with pencil pencils, you have erasers. You know, oh, I messed up. I can erase it. And it took me a second to really understand that I could still erase, but with paint. You know, where I could be like, oh, I just have to be patient and let it dry, and then I can go over it. Like this purple right now I'm doing seems a bit not as blended as I like, so I can just pop some blue right up in there if I want to, just to make it blend a little better and look like a different, more connected color.
Now you mentioned how, you can erase things with pencil, right?
Yes.
Now, how do you personally feel like that connects to life? Because in life, things happen such as trauma, and trauma you can't erase, right? That's something that goes in your brain and it doesn't disappear. But you can overcome the trauma, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I look at painting is like, yeah, okay, I accidentally put a blue dot and I meant to put a purple dot. But if I put so much white or if I put so much, red or whatever, I can get the purple I'm looking for. You just got to blend it right. And I think that's why painting is like one of the many beautiful ways to heal because it allows you to see a creation and be like, oh, I didn't like it like that, but maybe I do, but maybe I don't. And that's the way life is, is you have things that happen to you that you can't erase, but you can either take that trauma and make it your life horrible with it, or you can make a beautiful painting out of it, right?
Yeah. When it comes to painting in that regard, I would say it allows you to be more accepting of what you perceived at once a mistake. You might think, oh, it's messed up. The whole thing's ruined. You need to stop. And it's like, wait. Be a little more on the fly. Maybe you can make this blue into a boat and then you go, oh, don't throw away the whole painting just because of one little mistake. It allows you to learn that lesson of keep going anyway. You might be making a whole new piece. You can have one, at least for me, I could have one idea and then it kind of evolves as I
As you go.
work at it and things happen and that, or I'm like, I'm not going back on that. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep moving forward in spite of that and make something else from it. And there's a lot of that in life.
Yeah.
So this purple I have, it looked really cool with the blue, but I don't want it to be this dark. So this is where that white comes in.
Okay.
So if your bottom is looking a bit too dark and you don't want it to be that dark, because we're going to cover that up with leaves anyway, but it just makes less work if it's brighter versus if it was a dark and you have to cover it all up with some bright orange and yellow leaves. You know what I mean? So try to lighten up your bottom. If it's too dark, just pop some white in there to make it blend better with your blended blue and purple anyway, because that's what
Cool.
happens with me. Very nice. Okay, so now that I got that bottom down, I think I'm going to do another layer. So take it on at your own pace, you all.
Oh, this
So
blending stuff is so hard. And
so
mine
hard.
doesn't look as cool as yours.
Okay, so what I want you to do is take some purple and blue, like start mixing that right at that blue to purple starting line.
There.
Start mixing those together. Go over it again and do like some
Okay.
either purple and blue, or if you need some white because it's too dark, put a little white in there and then see if it'll blend down in that.
Okay.
And if purple by itself is too dark, that means it just needs white. So
Yeah.
try that. And if it's still not blending, just give it a second. It might be not dry and it's causing it not. Well, I don't know. When it comes to blending, it's good for it to not be dry, I think, actually. Because
Yeah.
it'll, show the color,
Melted.
I would think. But right. But again, if you do the tactic of blending your colors that you want to mix together as a new shade in itself and then go, you're still fine even if it's dry. It
Yeah.
should catch on and give you that idea that you want. Because I used to do that too. Do not
I
forget.
just got
I would be
three
like,
layers.
oh,
I just got three shades.
that's good. We're only gonna be doing 3 shades. But if you
Okay,
get up
cool.
like 4 or 5 because of how they blend, that's totally fine too. It just adds more nuance to it. All right. Okay. This black is so thin. Oh my goodness. So many different qualities of paint. I'm still learning about. Okay. Okay, let's see. Oh, really? I need some darker black. All right. All right. Sometimes I have to switch up my paints because you have different qualities of paint. So you play around with it. But believe me, I did many a project with a crayon. Okay. I did crayon melting. So that's another cool thing you can try to do. You can also completely melt down your crayons and make candles out of them. So who tells you you can't self-care on $1? Okay. So it's kind of cool. I feel like for me, when it comes to how art saved me or healed me, was that there was once a time my family and I used to move around a lot, and there was a certain area that we moved into that I was like, I don't like this place. I can't wait till we move again, you know. So I didn't connect myself to that home at the time, and I was like, I'm going to decorate. I'm gonna move. I need to do this, you know. And then realized over time, as I went throughout my days, I was like, I'm kind of depressed, kind of feeling a lot of negative emotions. I feel kind of blah. This is during my free time. Sometimes it was at home. A lot of times at home, of course, because you probably didn't have time to think about that, depending on where you're working at and what they allow you to be busy with. So I was like, okay. And it's just like one day I just felt like painting. I felt like creating, crafting. I just wanted to art. So much so that I didn't stop for days, and I was trying to learn techniques and learning stuff in a few days, just in it. And it was just so liberating and so engaging for me to do. And I just found, I think, myself through it and haven't stopped. It has, and then also it allowed me to decorate. I want to stress actually the importance of decorating. You may think, oh, I don't need anything. I can just have bare walls. Yeah, maybe, but decoration helps in your mental health as well.
And let's talk about that because during this pandemic, art has definitely been the go-to for healing in the sense that, for example, with the stores being broken into because of looting,
Yeah.
a lot of stores reached out to artists to cover up their walls and cover up their boarded up windows just to give some color and some peace to the situation.
Yeah.
And personally for me, I definitely felt a little more sense of calm just seeing the beautiful murals and beautiful paintings of these local artists on these local businesses, and it to me it just kind of made me feel like, you know what, I'm not in this world alone, you know, just seeing those different artworks. And a lot of artists took that as an opportunity to really speak as well and did a lot of beautiful Black Lives Matter posts, art pieces, a lot of protect Black women art pieces. So what has seeing murals and even doing your own mural done for you in this pandemic?
Oh man, I was so grateful to have that opportunity. Like, I feel like it allowed me to grow as an artist and to really step out of my comfort zone in doing a piece of that stature for the community to embrace as well. You know what I mean? On that kind of level. So it was just like yeah, it gives you a platform to speak a message if you want to, and to bring some type of inspiration to folks if you choose to. It all depends on what you choose to want to create. But for me, my piece felt very spiritual oriented, very allowing yourself to imagine other perspectives, that where we are now is not forever, and that we can have other viewpoints to how we can approach the next day, you know?
Yeah.
Feelings are very temporary. They feel very intense, but just remembering that they're temporary means that I can't stay angry for 24/7 hours straight. You're really not. You're just
True.
not.
True.
You'll be in another mood by who knows whatever hour later or the next day or so forth. Now, don't get me wrong, I know feelings can linger. I'm not gonna act like they don't. But I just feel that and understand that they can change, they fluctuate, and so can circumstances. So it's all about that perspective of, do I feel like this is really my forever? Does it really have to be? You know? It's a personal. Uh, so I want to. All right. So when you're doing your next layer, if you need to, and that's okay if you get some new shades. Totally fine. So just from the mixing as you blend different dry with wetness, you know. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, don't be afraid to like dab in there. Add some color.
Now I hear you have like meditation music in the background. Is that normally
Yeah.
what you like to listen to when you paint?
Definitely now. But I can change it up. Like
No, I was
I
just
will.
asking. I feel like
Oh,
everybody has their way of like working. I know for me, I listen to like music and calming music when I'm working and creating because it
oh.
gets real easy to get distracted. So
Yeah.
just having something
Yeah.
calmly in the back.
Yeah. Entrancing music for sure.
Purple
Yeah. I
is
mean,
my blue has turned into like a lavender purple now. I don't know. It's blended,
that's
but now
okay.
it's like darker. No,
You said, what do you want darker at the top, or
I'm
what
just
was it?
saying it's blended, but now it's like I don't know. It's kind of darker
That's
than
good
yours.
though, because once we get into making the moon, which is going to be the next step, it's going to be a cool contrast to the
Okay.
dark brown. So
Yeah.
you're building, it isn't like the only thing that's going to be on your painting as well. Okay.
Okay.
But if anything's too dark, just add some white to the color that you want to lighten up with it, like white and purple, and then put it in there with the blue. You know what I'm saying? Just start blending if you really feel like it needs to more to it or brightening.
Okay.
I definitely have learned, you have to give yourself time to build. So if it ain't popping through right away, it's just like, oh, okay, well, let me just dab it again, try this here.
Yeah.
That's where that conservative painting style comes from for me, where I kind of put little by little and then kind of, it's like I'm testing it out as I go, like, what is that one? Okay.
Now you're also in studies of becoming an official counselor as well, and you work a lot with youth. So for you personally, what is your take on wellness now, and what do you think is needed? Because you're in school learning, literally learning uh, psychology and counseling. But now after this pandemic, what do you feel like? What do you see the future going when it comes to counseling and healing?
um, since everything's virtual, I mean, even what we're doing right now could be a version of how we can introduce that to our children. If we can still find a way to get funding for our art programs, who's to say they can't go virtual and be definitely a part of, I would say, art therapy, because hello, we are in a pandemic. So with that being said, art therapy could be a new format of counseling infusing with art. Maybe we could consolidate, and maybe that can help with funding issues. You know, I'm trying to think about all the considerations of what could be getting in our way of helping children heal, as well as our teens and youth and anyone that's in like elementary, secondary school, all of that level of class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe getting hybrid courses that uh, include both a psychological or like mental health aspect with itself of that. But
Yeah.
art is healing. You really don't have to separate the two. Art in itself will be healing. So
Yeah.
you can test that by, say, if you're participating and then seeing how you feel after you finish your painting or while you're doing it. Did you feel calmer prior, more during, as we got started with this, you know?
Hmm.
Just viewing art can be cathartic. So not even having to paint on your own if you're not in the mood for that. Watching painting and art in action or viewing it can be also helpful.
Is that why? What's the famous painter's name? Was it Bob? What's his name?
Oh, you
You know
mean
who I'm
like
talking
Bob?
about?
I think it's Bob Rogers. Is that it?
Yes,
Right?
that used to be so relaxing to watch. I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly. Exactly. So yes, that counts. That's part of it. That's the trick of it all. Okay, wait. Let me mix a little bit more blue in my black because I got the black to be a little bit darker, quite a bit, but I want them to now blend again. But yeah, I believe art has allowed me to think a little bit more on my feet too, in a way. Dealing with anxiety, I think it wants me to be knowing every step when it happens before it happens. And it's like, okay, look, if
Yeah,
anything, the year has completely proved that you cannot plan every single step as you want every time. It's hard to explain, but you definitely need to go with the flow of, okay, well, I worked a lot this day, or my energy is not in the same expense as it was yesterday, so I got to make some adjustments. Does this mean I quit everything or that I don't want to get to what I want to get to? No, it just means I have to reprioritize that. You know, it doesn't mean neglect them. Please make time for them. But if you got to switch your schedule around, please do. Do what you have to must. You know, your best changes from day to day.
definitely.
So does your energy and your tolerance for things. Okay, so
Yeah.
sometimes those plans just need to be changed. So that's what I mean by like this whole year has been a lesson on being able to change plans because you really didn't have a choice. So crash course.
That's the crazy part about this whole year. You had no choice. You could not choose this year. The only thing you can choose is how you responded to it.
Absolutely. It was all it's always been about your response this year. How are you going to adapt? How did you kind of allow yourself to ebb and flow with this now?
Yeah. Now, for somebody who's on a healing journey, who's maybe just starting, and they may be watching this as like a beginner,
Yeah.
how do you flow? What is flowing? Let's get into that. How do you flow?
Flow in the sense. Like, oh, yeah, so we were just saying it. I
Just
was like, painting.
flowing.
I was like,
Right.
um, well, it's, how can I see? What's a good example of how, because at this point, we're speaking about resilience in a way
Yeah.
of you bounce back from setbacks. Okay, let's do that. So I would say tip wise, you definitely want to practice gratitude. That needs to be a part of your repertoire of tools. You know, if it be every day, if it be in your journal or your diary, there needs to be a space for your accomplishments, for the things that actually were great. Because we talked about this in the meditations. I believe it was about, give me a second, I'm gonna have to recall it, but I'm gonna explain the phenomenon nonetheless. Where your brain will have the ability to remember what is negative a lot more easily than it will what went great. You know, if you've heard that quote, some people may not know you did anything at all if you did the right thing. Because what right does in this case is, you know, I'm safe, everything's neutral, nothing happened. So great job, sure. You know, it's easy to take it for granted. But if, say, you know, the weather was nice, or finding things to be grateful for, even outside of yourself, not just what happened at work, but just things to take beauty in. So finding beauty in something, that, especially in nature, keeping a log of gratitude or accomplishments. So it's because it's very easy to fool yourself into thinking that you're not great, and self-doubt can really take over when you don't have some log of logic of what you've actually done and who you really are. You know what I mean? So that place of accomplishment is your log for you to be like, oh yeah, who am I? I'm that. That's what I am. That's what you need. So I believe that would help with flow, or in this case resilience, because you have a place to have evidence of your greatness. Okay.
Definitely.
So that's one. Put a little white here because I wanted to. So you can also blend right on the canvas. You can just dot the color onto it and then just whoop whoop and then start blending it across as well.
Yeah. Okay, some more.
So you can just splash it onto the canvas as well. This is gonna be a super night. I don't even know what to say for this. It's always interesting doing like a painting that already was done because it may not look exactly the same, and that's okay. That's another thing about art is accepting your organicness. You know, this is you who made it, so it's gonna come out any kind of quirk way it's meant to come out because you made it. And we also talked about that. We talked about self-validation that would also aid in flow, where it's
Yeah.
validate how you feel. You validate what you make. You know, you yourself can make your own critiques, hopefully positive and constructively. That's the game and the aim. That you could justify yourself. You know, it doesn't, you don't have to have every outside source to be the only way to validate yourself and to make yourself seem like I'm not crazy because someone doesn't think exactly how I think. You're not. It's okay. I know that can be a little more complicated, but with more specific examples, it becomes a little easier.
What I feel like lately has been happening is just time for me. I've been having to flow with time because I'll feel a certain way about something, but the people around me may not be in that space that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I've been having to become accepting of that because I can be impulsive at times, and sometimes I'll have an idea and I'm like, oh my God, we should do this and we should do that and we should do this and we should do that. But then
Yeah.
again, it's a pandemic right now, right? So everybody's reaction to it has been different. For some people,
Yeah.
it's like, no, not right now. I need space. I need to be alone. I need, and especially like with COVID, social distancing, right? We've had to completely change how we engage with each other. So at the beginning of this, a lot of my family was super strict. Like, no, you can't come to my house. You can't, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? No hugs, no nothing. Like, wear your mask, wash your hands. And it's still like that. But now it's more intentional now when I'm with family versus, oh, I just saw my mom and I said hi, right? But now it's like, no, mom, how are you? Grandma, how are you? I feel like this flow has
Oh.
forced us to really ask each other how we are instead of assuming and making us really pay attention.
And I hope it would encourage us not, it's for us, let me take that back, for us to be more honest with how we actually are feeling. I know
Yeah,
it can be very nuanced, but
yeah,
like, can
true.
we just say I'm fine? And it's okay, you can say you're fine, but in the sense of like
You have
asking
to
even
really
more
feel.
questions like, how are you feeling right now? Because I know this
Yeah,
is a lot. So it may be hard for you to literally sum up everything for yourself. Everyone has their own way of how they're handling this, so it might be hard to sum up and being like, "Hey, right now, presently, how are you? Here we
Yeah,
are." You know,
definitely.
that's
Definitely.
one tip. Got to learn that one where it's like, wait, why am I asking about this? This is very broad. Oh, it also depends on
I
what
think I
medium.
got a nice little grade going. I mean, it's not as cool as yours, but
No, I'm saying though, I can kind of see the blending. I can see, so that's good. You can
cool.
is it?
Yeah.
Oddly enough, not even that odd really. My mini me, my niece got me really into ombre, playing with landscapes and whatnot. She's so good at it. She's only 10 right now, and I believe we just clicked the moment she was born. It was like,
That's
hey,
dope.
homie, great. But yeah, she's inspired a lot in this, so it's like I've oddly gotten better just from being around her.
Speaking of that youthful energy, you mentioned at the beginning how this pandemic kind of took you back to your youthful essence.
Yeah.
And I feel like the youth have been so monumental in a lot of social change this year and a lot of forward movement in regards to a lot of what's happening lately. A lot of our protests have been led by some of our youth. And so
Yeah.
for you as somebody who mentors youth and like you said you work with your niece a lot, it's just positive words for the youth who may be, you know, freaking out about life, who may be anxious about adulthood, because I know a few of my nieces and nephews have just been like, man, you know, is this what the world is going to be when we get older, because this sucks.
So as for brushes, it's gonna probably be a little wet. So I'm gonna still get a few more seconds to blend and whatnot. So I might get fan again. As for brushes, I would say you could go with a pointed brush like so. This could work, or a smaller flat brush might work as well. Like this one, it's a little bit smaller than the one I have in size. Yeah, it was about the same one. Or a brush that'll give you enough like control to be able to do a circle if you wanted to. So I'm going to take probably like my tan, wet my brush a little bit, not too much, ain't that serious. And then see if I can go over this surface. If it blends a little bit, I can always add a little more cream. I mean, a little more tan here too. So let's say I want the moon. Let's look at the other picture just a little bit. Again, we have a different climax than not climax, but landscape. But that's okay. I'm gonna put it like right. I do want to put a little bit in the black, so like it's a big moon, so it's gonna be perfect. You can start making it better when you go over it again. So let me fix it. No worries. That's that cool thing I was saying about how you erase by just painting more. All right, so yeah, that background needs to be a little bit more dry. Just build around it. All right. Okay. Yep, that's good. That's fine. Like I said, you'll just kind of blend it as you go and then start filling it in. And realize this mix. And if your colors mix, that's fine. If like the background isn't fully dry as you thought, you can keep going and you can always just do another layer that will completely blotch all that out again.
Now you do a moon meditation monthly. You started doing them, I believe, this year, right?
Virtually, yes. Via stream, yes. It was this year, but I did them in person for like half the year of last year, or about 1/4 of the end of it.
So what made you decide to do the moon meditations?
Man, I enjoyed doing them so much in person and doing them last year. And I was just like, man, I was just getting on a roll. I don't want this to stop. Like, I just was like, I gotta figure this out. Like, I gotta figure out a way to do this because it seems important. I feel like this would be very helpful. I think it's helpful to me, to help others and to see how it may help with relaxing and soothing others and helping with their stress relief during these times. I just felt compelled. I felt literally called to do it. And there are times I'm just like, what am I doing? What? But not really. I'm matching what it is I say I am anyway.
And the cool thing is that it was a lot of retrogrades this year.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
a lot of things happening in the planets. So
Yeah.
for you, how do you explain how do you explain that to people who like you said, they don't normally research that stuff all the time?
I literally am just doing my best, but let's see. So the question is, how do I explain
Retrogrades to people who don't get it.
It's weird. I felt a little subconscious myself of like, is this making sense? Because I don't have the visuals I would like for this yet. So I really hope with feedback you all let me know if you understand them, what's going on. So I just keep doing it and I'm waiting for someone to tell me I don't get it.
I think I got a good one going.
Make sure. Huh?
I think I got a good one coming out.
Yes, it's definitely. That's what I'm saying. With that dark background, we're gonna get a pop album no matter what. That's the cool thing about the color music. Yeah, this is coming out great. This is all good. All good. So if it's not as dark as you like, you can start filling that in if you want to add another layer. If it's not ready for you to do so. Yeah, I like it. This is fun. It always gets fun once you build from the background all the way to the foreground and whatever's in front of it. It's all fun. That's like also slightly stressful for me, or it used to be as I like painted, was just the stress of like, oh my guys are coming out right. So I identify with my students when they would feel self-conscious as they were creating. And I'm like, I get it, but push through, keep working through it, keep making it, see what it looks like after you do it a little bit more. Give it 15 more minutes. What does it look like now? And it might be, you get a different reactions. They might be like, no, it still looks like what? And I'm like, okay, look.
Yeah.
But you just have to be patient with yourself. And it's like art therapy is more about how doing art or experiencing art is making you feel. So it's more about self-expression and digging into that avenue than it is about having exact techniques and things. You don't necessarily have to be an exact artist at all to experience art therapy or participate in it. At least that's my book. Oh yeah, this is fun. All right. And like you said, if you went with one color when you first made the moon, that's okay. You can also start adding any complementary, like I said, if you have that tan color, you can add a yellow or white, yellow, and white. Just play with different tones between those colors, or tints, if you will. Yeah. It's so funny, like when it comes to like different artists and their quirks as they create. I know for me, it's like almost like doing makeup sometimes. It's like, oh, yes.
I actually stuck at doing makeup. I hate it. I've been like really just keeping the natural face, and then if I have to put on makeup, which I love that about the quarantine, because personally I don't like to do the whole dressing up every day, full face. That's not me. That's never been me. And so to be like at home and literally wake up and you just get on Zoom for work or whatever, you don't have to have a whole face of makeup on.
No, yeah, you could. Yes, it's now a choice, if you will, but it's a fun way to feel celebratory if you feel like it. If you want Just be like, oh, I can just dial up. Yeah, cool. Like dress up at home. You know, totally fine. When it comes to when I create, like as for atmosphere, I enjoy like we had like meditative music is fine or whatever the tone of the piece I'm creating. If I'm doing something more of my anime, cartoon, manga, then I may listen to more upbeat and actually anime, manga, or cartoon inspired music. Um, just to kind of stay on theme if I want to stay in that like vibe for it or inspiration. As for like when I create jewelry, I really enjoy jazz, like specifically. I don't know why, but it just really helps inspire my work with that. Um, but I also like aromatics, so I also enjoy having incense or any kind of candle or anything like that is really helpful. So having things that calm you down, they can kind of work as cues, if you will, to be like, oh, I'm about to create. I'm setting this up. Ooh, like create a cue, if you will, with items that would help get your mind in the set of, oh, I'm doing this now. It's like if you slept in workout clothes, you might be more inclined to do so. You know what I mean? It's a cue. So having what you want to accomplish in very close proximity to yourself or to turn them on when you need them or have them when you need them is a good way of building your habits that you want. All right, so this mood is looking pretty good. I'm letting it dry, but I'm going to get started on the fall grass. So with this part, you want that flat, small flat brush, like so. Something
Okay.
like this.
Okay.
Okay. I believe so. Let me see. Yeah, because I'm going to do like a heel. So that for that you would need like yellow, some orange, and some red. Like really, your go-to fall colors: yellow, orange, red, just like the leaves. Yeah. So and you may could get a little bit of brown, especially if it's light brown. If it's not light brown, add a little white to your brown to allow it to blend with the grass when you get there. But you'll see that part when you get down right in. So let's go with this lighter brown. Okay. So after like the hump, yeah, this is definitely different leveling than I did when I created it. But that's okay. Like again, it's very organic. Um, yeah, do some different stuff every time. Every time it's not gonna look exactly the same. So let me try this yellow-ish orange color. And you just want to create a hump at whatever level, like where you would want your tree to kind of be mounted on top of. So any old kind of circle hump will be fine. Yeah, that's fine. Um, let me just move that closer so I can have it be easier for you to see. But just pick any spot you really want at the bottom panel here, and just make a hump, and just bring it all the way down to the bottom.
And that's with the brown.
No, that's with like a yellow or orange or anything. And if you did put brown, you can always color over it. So just work with the next color or that same one just to finish your shape. And then once it's dry, you can totally color over it or blend it, if you will, which I'll show you how. Okay. So once you have your hump, you can start filling inside of it. You're just kind of pecking at the canvas or paper you have and just pop, 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 just filling it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be from the side angle or more like up and down, but I usually do it at a side, like an angle. But just kind of sporadically going at it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be all filled with this yellow or orange color you may have. That's okay. You can also start building away from the hump and just kind of create like a trail down. I'll show you that a little closer too. So just kind of create a little steep hill or whatever from the hump. And you're gonna do that on both sides. Bring it a little closer again. Just do something like that. It's all good. Now, as you continue to do that, it'll start making more sense visually. So I know it looks kind of weird first, like it just looks like a hump and some like a bridge or something on the side. That's okay. So same thing you did with inside the hump, you're going to just do a lot of little dots and specks on the side part you created too. Okay, so once you find liking to whatever you have so far, that's okay. You're gonna keep building from this anyway. You can also introduce another color. That'd be like maybe the orange or the red, whatever you choose. Let's try with the orange actually. Let's go with that because there's a certain technique I'm gonna show you with using the red. So just go with next similar color, which would be like an orange or something like that. Or if you use yellow, then do so forth. Be perfect. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. You don't need a lot of paint on your brush. You just need enough to just do a quick little stick speck, but you're not trying to really put a glop of paint on the canvas or anything per se. But if it happens, just spread it out and move it to another spot. And then once you feel like, okay, that's nice, you can start adding your red when you're ready. So let me just clean my brush. Or you might not even have to, but I prefer to clean it just because I'm starting fresh. Now, as for with the red, here's the trick. It's very similar. You're going to do the specks. You might want to slow it down. You'll be more methodical, but it's still going wherever. But the way you'll blend your red specks that you're putting on will be with that first yellow or orange, and you'll see how they blend out and make you that multicolored leaf that you may want instead of just like obvious dots that are just popping out. So let me show you the technique. So you don't have to clean your brush after you start the red if you want. You can just dip it into whatever side, puddle of yellow or orange. And what you'll do is you'll go over specifically the red spots you just did. It'll create this blended two-tone color, and if it doesn't look exactly how you want, you just go over it again, maybe with a fresh coat of yellow to splat over it to blend it. So let me clean my brush and show you again, if you can see that. So it'll turn your red slightly into like a little orange and so forth with it instead of it just being like red. So I'm just gonna get some variation of yellow, orange. And I'm just gonna slightly go over those specks that I just blended the first time and just make them a little more lighter, a little more toned down by putting a little more yellow or gold or any kind of that variation that you may have over it a little again, just to tone it down. Hopefully that makes sense. You can see what I'm doing. So again, I'm just adding, ooh, how do you like it
I don't
so
know.
far?
I'm just going with the flow because I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing it right, but.
It's kind of hard to see the details of it. Was it because the bottom was too dark for you to see?
Yeah. But I know once we start doing stuff, it's going to make sense. Like right now, I feel like it just looks like dots on mine, but.
Yeah. And you just restart that process. So if there's still any gaps in your bottom, you can just clean your brush and start with the gold or yellow or orange that you have, probably the yellow or something like that. Speaking of I probably could use an actual yellow. I feel like I kind of have tan and mustard yellow or something. Let me try this brighter yellow. Cool. So anyway it goes, you're just gonna redo what you did and just fill in any other extra spaces and just start over. And then this is layering. We're building the leaf pile aesthetic here that we're doing.
Got it.
Oh. Let me make sure my light is good enough to help you guys see. And if If you want more contrast, you're more than welcome if you need to add a little white or just find a brighter yellow or orange or anything like that to help with adding different colors to it. Once you get tired of doing one speck of color, you just move to the next one and build on top of that in sporadic order. Orange kind of color, filling it around. All right. I love the sensation of just like dotting and specking things. That might not even be the right term. But that's part of where my start in art was with like, besides just sketching and drawing, it's like doing stippling, dot, peck, kind of things. And I wonder if it did something, just the type of way of doing that was that cathartic or not. So now I'm gonna go back to that red again. You might be seeing your colors blend a little better just because of as you go. But with the red, same technique. You just pick whatever spot you want, where you want your red to be at. Oops. It's really hard to see this. Okay. So I'm doing my red specks here. And then once I'm done with that red specks, I just prefer, this time I'm gonna clean my brush. I prefer to clean my brush. And add, again, yellow, orange, whatever, a little brighter, warmer color, and then just go over those reds in different spots just to tone it down, blend it, build it, so forth. And then we'll start kind of creating this look over time that like, oh, it's a pile of leaves. Get that. Or at least the idea of what you want. I know I used to be one of those children that liked to play that cloud game, try to envision images in the sky like, oh, it looks like an elephant. So that also played with my imagination and allowed me to be a little more subjective about art, where it's like everyone's going to have their own critiques or idea of like, this is art, that is art. And it's very easy to get caught up in that to assume like, oh, well, this person didn't think my art was art, so I guess it's not. And it's just like self-validation. Hello.
Yeah.
It's very easy to just assume that, because I remember being in that position at one point where it was just like, well, this person doesn't think it, then I don't know. And it's just like, nah. Uh-oh. All right, so repeating the process yet again, where I am starting with my yellow or so color and tapping, building. But we're going to go straight into the tree now. So with this, you want to create little stubs. So we're going to do one on this side here, one in the middle, and one on the side. And then you can just create your tree any way you like. You can do any kind of shape. It's okay to be more of a fantasy type tree where it's got some curves and turns to it and whatnot. So I like for it to kind of interact with the moon. So it will curve in and around it. And build some branches. And once the branches are built, we can just put the leaves down and you'll have close to what you need on this. Anything else would be like the idea of stars or things of that nature. I'm gonna create more of another stump here. You can create your tree any kind of way you like. If you want to give it some interesting branches and whatnot. So I'm using my flat brush for this part, but you might want to use a more finer brush once we get into the branch making. Really. I have a cat. Having pets, I think, is another cathartic thing to have.
Yes. What is it like being a cat mom?
Well, at least for her, since we practically raised her from when she was a kid, and I thought, oh, it's gonna be like, she's gonna be well behaved, whatever that means, you know, asshole or not. But no, if anything, we've learned a lot of emotional intelligence from our cats, because cats will let you know if they want you to touch them, if they want you to interact with them.
Yeah.
You just have to listen. So you learn consent from your cats.
Definitely.
As for we're just gonna kind of create little twigs and branches of such. This brown is a bit bright, so I might give it a little darkness, or I'll add some dark to give it some sure whatnot, but we're just gonna speak through this a little bit more. And I want them to be a little more thinner, but that's okay. This is just a show. No problem. Okay, so really you're just placing your branches wherever you like, because this will be, you're gonna want some branches that do not have leaves on them, just so it can kind of give you that balance of aesthetic. Trees grow in really mysterious ways. Okay. So now that we got some branches on there, which you can continue to add as you like, you're going to get your Q-tips with yellow, red, and orange. They're going to be just, each bundle is going to have a color to itself. All right. And then we're going to just add those leaves in just a tick. Just a tick. All right. Okay, once more. And that will be it. All right. So, we could add a little definition to the tree if you like, but you would just use a darker brown. You might need to blend it possibly with that lighter brown too, if you wanted to not be too of a shocking system, but you want to think about where the light is hitting. So if the light would be hitting the inner part of the tree, you're going to put the dark on the outer, or where it would not be facing the moon. So that's how you get the better, more realistic art, is paying attention to be mindful. Where would the light really be hitting this? Where would shadows really be, which would be underneath them and so forth. Okay.
So how important is light and shadows in painting?
I mean, as I continue with making art, it became more like, oh, like it all depends on your desire of what you want to make. If you're trying to go with cartoony or more realistic and so forth, but even cartoon work can benefit from knowing shadow and shade, just to give your art a little more depth and a little more of an illusion of that 2.5 and 2D popping more at you kind of vibe. That's pretty much where I took from it, where it's just adding more depth and just more of a look to it. I can't really explain it at this moment. Hope that helps a little. But now that I got this down, I'm just going to start the branches, just so you guys can have a bit of an idea. You're more than welcome to keep working on your piece if you want to add more of the darker color or more leaves and whatnot, just so I can leave you with at least that. Okay. So I'm just kind of quickly adding some darker colors, no problem. And then if you want, you can also do highlights by adding white, which would be closer to
It looks cool on the camera.
part of the tree, so where the moon is touching it.
It looks cool on the camera.
Yes! But
To me, it's like, am I doing this
But that's
right?
what I'm saying. If you don't, yes, I think you are. Yes, but if you don't like one part of it, you can always paint over it again with that black blue color. So just let it dry, and you don't have to worry about that part. Just kind of omit it, if you will. So if there's any branches you don't like, don't think about them. You're gonna paint over them with the colors you already have. To just and it never was. That's how you erase. Let it dry and then go over it again. Um, yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna get started on the branches just so I can have that for you and let you all build as you go from there. But let me get my reds, and I have already have those colors actually because we were doing that with the leaves. So it's the same color as the leaves. So with this technique or with this ability, you would I like to make them hang a little bit instead of like letting them be stiff. I kind of want it to be almost like a weeping willow or a blossom tree. I kind of like that aesthetic. So with this, I'm gonna get some yellow, orange, whatever. You just gonna.
Oh, wow, you made that look so cool.
uh, it just happens. I don't know. Like it will occur by just now. One thing I did notice or learn is that trying to have your branches actually be visible. Like, don't have your leaves try to eat up your branches too much. And if that happens again, you just let it dry and you can go over it with your brown again because I realized that it looks like my branches aren't as visible and I want them to still be seen a little bit so it can look like the leaves are off of the branch and not just like this fuzz that hangs off this brown piece of wood for some reason. Does that make sense? So if you help it, you want to still have some branches a little visible so it can seem like it's coming off of that. So after that, we're just going to move on to another branch that you want to do. Branch you like. It could be even some on the off pieces here. One and just and so forth, and just kind of play with branches not visible. Just go back and try to make some visible parts of it so it looks like again it's coming off of the branch and not just out of nowhere. But I need to let this dry, but I want you to get the gist of this. And I'll just do one more and or a few more and then I'll leave you with this to play with. And then, of course, if you want to top it off with some stars. So I'm going to do that real quick so you have some idea of that too. Yeah, definitely it's fun to let it hang a little bit instead of be like stiff. So let it kind of off of it. Okay. All right, cool. Shoot. I'm gonna do one more and then I'm gonna do some stars for you. And I'll probably see if I can show you these clouds, but if not, definitely stars. That's the most important here. Okay. One more, because I love my snacks. Okay, a little bit more. Right there. It's my yellow and then my orange. And just let it ever so fall. So now, as for the white, you just get your pointy brush of any kind here, and then just make dots randomly of varying sizes, and that'll at least get you your night sky. Another trick you can do, but it's a little more, it can be messier, is when you take like not too much paint on your white brush and then you use your finger and flick it. That might work, but I'm gonna check because, oh yeah, it works a little bit, but it's a little more messier. But that's one way to create a really quick galaxy effect is to take a white brush and just, you can also do this with like a toothbrush or something. If you have like an old one or something you don't use or something like that, that's another method of using a toothbrush with white paint on it, going just flicking it at the canvas. But that is a bit difficult with this brush, so I'm just gonna do it by hand, and I can always go back and make them smaller. So if you feel like your stars are a bit too big, that's okay. Go back and just put more black around and just try again. No problem. All right. It is important to try to make them very concise, but that's a little more difficult with this brush. So I'm gonna see if I can find a slightly thinner one, but overall, this would be your aesthetic. And then don't be afraid to get some of the white and the blue, like the next color a little bit down, because it's a whole sky. It doesn't have to be literally at the top here. Yeah. So it's okay to get a little bit lower. Okay. And I believe we have our painting for the evening. Did you all, I don't know if we have time for our clouds or not. But,
hold on, remember it's the afternoon. So
but yeah.
This is going to air at 1 p.m. So can you say, hope you enjoyed your painting for the afternoon?
Yes, I definitely hope you all enjoy your painting for the afternoon. I just did it with the night thing. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. It was awesome.
Yay! I mean, I'm still
getting
there.
I love it. Have fun. I love it. At least from this video, looks like it'd be fun. But you can, now that you know how to do this, you can kind of retry it again, different colors, make a blossom tree instead of fall-oriented trees. It's all very fancy-oriented work that I do.
So thanks, Blue.
Yay, that looks
That's this cool trick.
And I'm gonna show them what I do. Yay! Enjoy your trees.
Didn't you guys? Cool. So thank you again, Blue, for giving us this awesome paint lesson and giving us tips on healing through paint. You know, please tell the people where they can find you and other ways they can, you know, do your artwork.
Yes, so you can follow me on Instagram at Azultulz. That's AZULTULZ. And you can also follow me under Benicia Blue on Facebook, or you can just look up Azultulz and find me there. But definitely follow the moon meditations. They are very great for helping uplift your week, your night, and helping with your stress relief. So you can use it. It's a free resource for you and the community. So enjoy, follow me.
Definitely. Thank you, Blue. And until next time, stay tuned. We have more panels coming up. Stay locked right here at Evolve Fest 2020. Peace. Thanks, Blue.